Behind the polished doors of seemingly ordinary San Francisco apartments, a secret world of psychological experimentation was quietly unfolding. Men and women entered, expecting the thrill of an illicit encounter, never knowing they had become part of one of the CIA's most controversial and shocking Cold War operations. Drugs, deception, and manipulation converged in a way that blurred the line between science and crime. This is the story of Operation Midnight Climax, a chapter of the CIA's MKULTRA program that pushed the boundaries of ethics, legality, and human trust. In this video, we're going to uncover how the CIA ran LSD brothels in major American cities, what they were trying to learn, and the astonishing and often disturbing methods they used to experiment on unwitting citizens. So, let's start. The operation began in the 1950s. During the height of the Cold War II, the United States government was obsessed with the fear that the Soviet Union, China, and other adversaries had developed mind control techniques far beyond Western understanding. Intelligence agencies wanted to explore every possible avenue: chemical interrogation, psychological conditioning, and methods to extract information from individuals without their consent. LSD, newly synthesized and legal at the time, seemed to offer a doorway into the human mind unlike anything seen before. The CIA's MKULTRA program officially sought to explore mind control and chemical interrogation techniques. Within this broad and secretive project emerged a particularly bizarre and morally troubling offshoot, Operation Midnight Climax. The plan was audacious, almost cinematic in its conception. In San Francisco, and later New York, the agency set up safe houses disguised as high-end brothels. Prostitutes were recruited to lure clients, who were then secretly administered LSD or other psychoactive substances without their knowledge. What the CIA wanted to learn was simple. In theory, how would individuals react under the influence of these drugs? Could LSD disorient, manipulate, or even coerce subjects into revealing secrets? Could the mind be broken or shaped through chemical means? The answer, they hoped, would provide the United States with a decisive advantage in the emerging psychological warfare of the Cold War. The operation was meticulously planned and monitored. Safe houses were outfitted with one-way mirrors, recording equipment, and observation rooms where CIA operatives could watch, note, and record the reactions of unsuspecting subjects. Every gesture, every word, every visible reaction became data in a covert psychological study. Subjects were entirely unaware that they were part of an experiment, raising questions about consent, legality, and morality that continue to shock historians today. The drugs used were not limited to LSD. Sodium pentothal, mescaline, and other psychoactive chemicals were tested in combination. The goal was to explore extremes of fear, compliance, and suggestibility. Agents observed subjects as they experienced hallucinations, paranoia, confusion, and intense emotional vulnerability. Some individuals unknowingly disclosed intimate personal information. Others experienced panic attacks, lasting psychological effects, or complete disorientation. The CIA gathered this information, hoping to extrapolate techniques that could be applied to interrogation, espionage, or even battlefield mind control. What made Operation Midnight Climax particularly chilling was the complete lack of oversight. At the time, ethical guidelines for human experimentation were either minimal or ignored, and the CIA operated in a space of complete secrecy. Agents rationalized their actions as national security imperatives, believing that the ends protecting the United States from foreign powers justified the means. Yet, for the subjects involved, there was no consent, no warning, and no escape from the experiment once the drugs took effect. The operation also tested social manipulation. Subjects were chosen for their perceived intelligence, influence, or vulnerability. Women and men who visited the brothels were enticed by desire, only to become unwilling participants in chemical observation. The CIA wanted to know how ordinary citizens might behave under the influence, and whether manipulation through pleasure, chemicals, and psychological pressure could be an effective tool in broader intelligence operations. For years, the safe houses operated with apparent impunity. Observers took notes, recorded behaviors, and refined their hypotheses about mind control. Operatives began to form detailed psychological profiles, analyzing susceptibility to suggestion, emotional breakdowns, and compliance under chemical influence. These findings contributed to the broader MKULTRA project, which spanned numerous experiments, often equally secretive and equally controversial. Yet, as with many operations rooted in secrecy, the risks were high. Any exposure could have led to scandal, political backlash, and legal consequences. The CIA relied on absolute secrecy and compartmentalization, ensuring that even within the agency, knowledge of the operation was limited to a small number of operatives. Subjects, of course, remained completely unaware, creating a moral gray zone that continues to provoke outrage. By the late 1960s, Operation Midnight Climax began to fade. LSD gained popularity in the counterculture movement, and the ethical scrutiny of human experimentation increased. Investigations into MKUltra forced the CIA to shut down the more egregious operations, destroy documents, and quietly disband the safe houses. Yet, for those involved, both operatives and subjects, the psychological echoes remained. The operation left a lasting mark on the perception of intelligence agencies in the United States and the world. Operation Midnight Climax illustrates the extremes of Cold War paranoia. It shows a government willing to experiment on its own citizens to explore the boundaries of human consciousness in pursuit of national security. It also demonstrates the intersection of psychology, chemistry, and intelligence, how the mind itself became a battlefield, and how curiosity, fear, and secrecy combined to create some of the most disturbing chapters in the history of espionage. Even today, the story serves as a cautionary tale about the ethics of intelligence work, the lure of power, the drive for knowledge, and the justification of national security can lead to experiments that violate human rights, personal autonomy, and moral boundaries. Operation Midnight Climax is remembered not for its success or failure, but for the moral questions it raises. What is acceptable in the pursuit of security, and how far can an agency go before crossing lines that should never be crossed? The legacy of Operation Midnight Climax remains embedded in public consciousness through documentaries, declassified files, and cultural representations in film and literature. It reminds us that intelligence work is not always about high-speed chases, coded messages, or spy gadgets. Sometimes, it is about the quiet manipulation of human behavior, about control through seduction, drugs, and deception, tools far more insidious because they are invisible, intimate, and psychologically penetrating. In the end, Midnight Climax was not just a CIA operation. It was a demonstration of how secrecy, fear, and ambition can converge in ways that shape the ethics of an entire era. It challenges us to question authority, to understand the power dynamics in seemingly ordinary situations, and to remember that in the shadows of history, some experiments are remembered not for what they achieved, but for the moral and human cost they exacted. The final thought lingers. Behind those doors in San Francisco and New York, ordinary people unknowingly became part of a Cold War experiment, living proof that espionage does not always require weapons, soldiers, or battlefields. Sometimes, the most dangerous operations are the ones that manipulate the human mind itself. Operation Midnight Climax remains one of the darkest, most secretive chapters of American intelligence history. A story of curiosity, ambition, and the limits of morality in the pursuit of power.